G'day, it's Pete here, and today I wanted to talk about how to deal with bad breaks. How often have you run into a 5-0 break and just gone, I just don't know what to do about it? So today I wanted to talk through some tips about dealing with bad breaks. And one of the key things is that for a bad break, you don't usually just want to play about it from the start. You want to discover it and then work out how to actually deal with it. So lots of today, I want to talk about how to set yourself up to position yourself that you discover a bad break and then can actually deal with it. So let's jump in and take a look at some examples. So for this one, we've got two hands. We're in 7 no trumps and we've got two different suits. We've got 9 spades and we've got 9 hearts. The question I want to pose to you is, which honor do we want to start with in spades and which honor do we want to start with in hearts? Because if the suits break 2-2 or they break 3-1, we've got no issues whatsoever. And is there any guiding principle to what we want to do here? So again, with bad breaks, what you want to do is not just expect that there's a bad break, but you want to play in such a way that if there is a bad break, you discover it and then can deal with it. So let's take a closer look at these suits. One of the key things that I like to look for is what relevant cards are we missing? So we've got 9 cards in both, so the opponents have 4. But there is a difference between these two suits. In spades, we're missing the jack and the 10. In hearts, we're just missing the jack. So in spades, there's 2 relevant cards. In hearts, there's 1 relevant card. And this should really sway which honor you should actually start with in these problems. So the guiding principle that you want for this is to deal with a bad break, or to be able to finesse in general. If there are 2 relevant cards and we don't want to lose to one of them, we need 2 higher honors in the same hand. But if there's only 1 relevant card that we're missing that we don't want to lose to, we only need 1 higher honor in a hand to actually finesse and not lose to it. So what this actually means is we want to hope that the suits are 2-2 or they're 3-1. But if they are 4-0, in hearts, there's only 1 relevant card that we're missing. So if we can keep a higher honor in either hand, that means we'll be able to finesse it either way. So for this, what that actually means is we actually just want to start with one of the ace or king in hearts. So here we can lead a low heart, and when we put in the ace, and we see that East shows out, they don't have any. West started with 4 hearts. Now, because we have a higher honor in either hand, it didn't actually matter who started with 4 hearts. But here I'll talk about West, and then we'll talk about if East had it. But with West having 4 hearts, we can just come back to the Queen of Hearts, and then we can actually just finesse. Okay, and we're not going to lose any hearts here. So let's just backtrack and look at when we played our first heart. Now imagine that the hearts were switched and it was actually East that played. So here, when we go in with the ace and West is the one who discarded in this scenario, we've actually got the 10 here, and we could just lead the 10 and finesse the jack of hearts on the way back, and they wouldn't score a heart trick at either stage. So is this the same in spades? Well, no. So what you actually want to consider in spades is that there's 2 relevant cards. Now, to prevent us losing to a trick when there's 2 relevant cards, we actually need to keep both honors in the same hand. Instead of starting with the ace or king like we did for hearts, it's actually better to start with the queen of spades. So we'll show you how that works. So here, I'll just finish that trick. And let's not take the ace or king, but I will come back to this and just show you what would happen if we did start with the ace or king. So here we play a spade, and this time West shows out. And here we go in with the queen. And now we've got 2 honors in the same hand, and we're missing the jack and the 10, but we can actually finesse this. So here we can lead one, and they do best to put in one of those honors, and we put the king on. And now they've still got the jack and a small one, but we can go back to that north hand and then finesse it again. So here we go there, and we've picked up the 4-0 break, and we're all good there. So let's just backtrack and look at 2 things. There's a couple of common questions that I get. Okay, so the first question is, well, what if West had four spades? Great, you showed me how to deal with East having four spades to the Jack 10, but I don't know that. And what about if West had it? Well, there's actually nothing we can do if West had four spades to the Jack 10. If we lead a spade towards the Queen, they could just put in the 10, the Queen would win, and there's no way to finesse that other honor. The only 4-0 break we can pick up is if East has it, because we're missing the Jack and the 10. So the fact that there's two relevant cards here, you need to keep the honor pair together. Also, if we just started with the ace or king, I just want to highlight what actually happens here. So we start with the ace of spades and we see the bad break. Now when we go over to the queen and lead a spade, we can't finesse it twice. We can only do it once. The 10 of spades is still missing. And when we play the final spade, we've actually lost a trick. So if we go back right to the start and look at these two suits, the important thing is how many relevant cards are we missing? If there are two cards that you potentially want to finesse, keep the honor pair together. If there's only one card, separate the honors so that you've got one higher one in there. And it's not that we expect bad breaks, but you want to get the positioning right to start with so that when you discover it, you can then actually play for it. So let's look at another example. So for this one, we're in 7 no trumps again, and we've got two suits. This time we've got 8 cards in spades and 8 cards in hearts, and we're missing the queen in both. And we all know that when you've got 8 cards missing the queen, we want to play for the finesse. And we do actually need to pick up both suits in this contract. It's not that spades would do us and would be fine. So the next thing that you want to do is, can you protect against singleton honors? So sometimes you can take one top honor just to check to see if there's a singleton queen offside before you actually start finessing. So can we or should we do that in spades or hearts? Is there any difference here? And what are we actually looking at? So another key thing for dealing with bad breaks is, well, how many times do we want to finesse? Okay. Are we happy just finessing once? Or do we want to do it twice or 3 times? So the opponents have 5 cards. Now, theoretically, like in spades, we can only finesse twice as is. In hearts, we could finesse 3 times. And if East had 5 hearts to the queen, we'd want to do that. But actually, a singleton queen with West is more likely than East having 5 to the queen anyway. So protecting against a 5-0 or a singleton queen is better to protect against. So here in hearts, what we can actually do is think, well, we want to finesse as many times as possible, but we want to protect against that singleton queen. So here in hearts, we could actually play a heart to the ace first, and then we've still got the option to finesse hearts twice still. We could play a heart towards the jack and a heart towards the 10. In spades, can we also protect against a singleton queen? Well, you could, but what are you giving up this time? If you look at the difference in spades, we've only got 2 spades in the south hand, so we can only finesse twice as is at the start. And if spades were 4-1, 4 with West, 1 with East, we'd actually need to finesse the spades twice to not lose to the queen there. So because of how many times we want to be able to finesse, in hearts we can take the ace and then still finesse twice. In spades, we can't protect against the queen being singleton, so we actually want to finesse straight away. So the way that I'd actually play this one is I'd take the ace of clubs and then play a heart to the ace. Check for that singleton queen. And here it comes down. Great. In spades, we don't want to check for that singleton queen. We just want to finesse the first time and then come back and finesse again. Because if spades were 4-1, we would need to finesse the suit twice, and we only had 2 cards in that suit. So one of the key things I look for in a hand to deal with bad breaks is how many times do I need to take that finesse, and how many times can I take that finesse is also worthwhile there. So again, let's just take a look at these two suits. Both look very similar. We've got 8 cards, we're missing the queen, we want to finesse, but in one we can take the ace, the other we should be finessing straight away. We can't protect against that singleton queen. So let's look at another example. So for this one, looking at spades again, we want to try and pick up the spade suit here. And for this, what I really want to focus your attention on is entries, but also how many times we want to finesse. How many times we want to finesse is quite useful. Also, it's worthwhile to backtrack for dealing with bad breaks. You want to position yourself that you can discover it and then be able to deal with it. So this spade suit, we've got 8 spades, missing the jack. We just want to hope that they're 3-2. But we want to position ourselves that if they're 4-1 or 5-0, we might be able to discover it and then actually deal with it. And the main question you want to ask is, can I play it in such a way that I can discover a bad break and then actually play for it? So looking at 4-1 breaks and 5-0 breaks, here with this 5-3 distribution here, there's actually no way we can discover East has a 4-card suit or a 5-card suit and then play for it. Even if we had more entries to the north hand, you still couldn't discover it in time to play it. And discovering bad breaks is really, really important. Now, what about 4 with West? Now, there's a couple of easy ways. We could play a spade to the king, then back to the ace. We would see East show out, discovering the bad break, and then be able to play towards the 10. Also, we could take the ace and then up towards the king, see the bad break, come down in a different suit, and then finesse the jack on the way back. So 4-1 with West is easy as long as we take the ace in the first or second round. What about if West has all 5 of them? Well, how many times would we need to finesse the jack? Well, we'd actually need to finesse the jack twice. So we'd need to be able to play low towards the 10 and low towards the 9. Now, if you think about we need to finesse it twice, that'll highlight that you want to start with the ace of spades here. And then we'll discover the bad break if it was 5-0. If it's 4-1, we'll discover it on the next one, but be in that position to finesse it. Now, if there's a 4-1 break, we've got the ace, king, queen, we only need to finesse once. So here, the correct honor to actually start with on this suit is actually the ace of spades, positioning yourself that if there's a bad break, we can then discover it. And here we find it, so we can play a low spade towards the 10. We can come back towards our hand. And then we can actually just finesse the spades again, and we've done that. But if we'd started with the king or the queen, we would be in the wrong spot to actually do that. So here, the ace of spades was critical to try and do that. Now I want to bring up a very similar hand and highlight how entries actually matter for this. So this one looks exactly like the same hand. We've got king, queen, 10, 9, 8 to 5, opposite ace third. But here, all the entries are in the south hand. We're only going to get up to that north hand once. Now, one of the things we were talking about is how many times we'd like to finesse. And each time you use a finesse, you need an entry. Now, here, there's only one entry to that north hand, which is the ace of spades. So for this, we can't pick up any 5-0 breaks. If East had 5 spades to the jack, we can't get to that north hand enough times to actually finesse. So here, considering that we can only finesse once, we want to time the play of our honors such that we discover the bad break and are then in a position to finesse when we're actually using that entry. So what that means is that we actually want to take one of the king or queen of spades first and then go up to the ace of spades. So here we can play the king and then go up to the ace, and notice that we actually discover the bad break and we're in the right position to finesse. We could have only finessed once, so we wanted to time it so that we take our honors in a spot that we discover the bad break and then we can deal with it. So here when we lead a low spade, we can then finesse and we've got the rest of the tricks. So hopefully this clears up a bit about how you can actually play for bad breaks. And the main focus is taking the right honor first so that you're in a position that when you discover a bad break, you can then cater for it. So what we're talking about here is how many times do we want to finesse? How many entries do we have such that if we're short on entries, we're in the right hand when we discover the bad break to then be able to finesse? And then also, how many relevant cards do the opponents have? If there's only one, we only need one higher honor to be able to beat that, to take a successful finesse. If there are two relevant honors, we need two honors in the same hand to be able to finesse it and not lose any tricks. Anyway, hope you enjoyed this about dealing with bad breaks. Thanks all for watching, and I'll see you next time.